Welcome to Agent Unstuck Calls, where we talk to real estate agents who are experiencing a challenge in their real estate career and they're looking for an alternative solution. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Cerrone with MastermindAgent.com, and I'm excited about this episode, so let's go ahead and jump right in. How can I help you with your real estate practice?
I'm just interested in hearing the insight. I read your emails quite often, and I don't know if I call it being stuck, but I guess it is being stuck, trying to figure out how to move up to the next level. I've been in the business for 15 years, and I have seen my progression in stages as it relates to my business. However, I know that I did not set certain things for foundations in my business that I feel are very important now for me to do. To be a little more efficient and effective. And I'm just trying to figure out how to do that while still managing a business.
Sure. Let me ask some questions. You know me, I like to ask questions. So 15 years in the business, what did, I'm going to ask two parts. One, what have you done and where do you want to go? So let's go to what have you done? So how many homes did you sell last year?
Last year I sold right at 30. I think between last year to now, I've sold 33 homes.
Okay, great. So that's like the last 12 months, about 33 homes or yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then what, is that your best year? Was that your best? I'm sorry.
It is.
Good. Congratulations. So you're on an upward trajectory. Now, where do you want to go with it? Are you trying to level out at the 33 or did you want a number higher? What's your objective?
My objective, of course, is higher. My objective is higher, learning to figure out where I need to maybe bring in someone. I'm a solo agent. I do have a transaction coordinator. Maybe having an assistant, or maybe just learning how to systematize and set my schedules up so that I can be more effective, and even maybe increasing my sales volume, my sales price. So I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and our average sales price was probably like low threes with the market the way it is. It's probably there, but my sales vary anywhere from, because I have an investor customer that I use, so we can buy properties as low as 80,000. So my levels are between 80,000 and realistically probably up to about 400,000. Every year I have done at least one deal that has been $500,000 or more. So just wanting to be better, and I see where I may have not been the best at creating this business when I started. And so now there are some things I think I just need to, for lack of a better word, put in place, but trying to do that and still stay active in the business that I have has become a challenge for me.
What's the main source of your business?
Actually, mostly referrals.
Good. Okay, so you're doing a lot of repeating referrals. It's building up over the years, closed 33 this last year. With that, you don't have a lot of control over the price. You were talking about moving the price up. There's not an effective way to move the price up of when you're working your spirit, because they're going to do whatever they're going to do, other than maybe you try to help them buy a rental property or something on top of their normal home, or something else. But it's the best source of business, in my opinion. The PCSOI, past clients and sphere of influence, repeating referrals is awesome. All right, so we're not going to go down that. I just want to get an idea where you're coming from. I got a couple more questions. I'm trying to get to your main question, though. Don't worry, I'm coming back to it.
No, it's fine. I know you need a little more, so that's fine. I'm an open book.
Good. So have you ever taken the DISC profile test, the DISC? Do you know what you are?
I've taken it, but I don't remember what.
That's okay. A D is a driver, an I is amicable and social.
Yeah, S and an I think.
Yeah,
And I printed it out.
the S is very private social, like they like a tight-knit family, whereas an I is very outgoing. They want to meet
I'm a little
everybody.
of both of those.
What's that?
Yes. I'm a little of both of
A little
those.
both of those. And then the C is a calculator, analytical person who likes to crunch numbers and
I
not
have
that.
a little bit of, listen, so this is the backstory. I have some of that in me. I'm a chemical engineer by degree.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you got the analytical, yeah.
I do, and I worked in research as a chemical engineer for the government. So I did that for 12 years. And I moved back home to help care for my parents, and that's how I got into real estate. So not wanting to just not do anything besides care for my parents, my realtor that helped me buy my home asked me had I ever considered real estate, and I had not, but I'm a people's person, so I tried it. So that's how I got here. And so I think that's part of the thing. When I started, I was like, okay, I'll do a couple of transactions. It'll keep me a little busy. And after I had my first child, and then I wanted to see if it could really give me a living, provide a living for me and my family. I started getting into it, and hindsight is 2020. I should have probably put some things into place, and so that's where I am.
Right, but you're now 15 years in. 15. Now, are you full time in real estate now, or are you still doing engineering?
No. When I left up north, I was in Madison, Wisconsin. When I left there in 2005, there was no more engineering.
Okay, but you still have it in you. You're still an engineer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so well, that's good. So that you've got a bunch of these. So you might be more of a chameleon, but you definitely have to have some C if you're happy in engineering. You made it through school with that. So the nice thing about the C category, the analytical side, is you're going to be able to set up systems. You just need kind of a format for doing it. So let's first define what a system is in the real estate world.
Okay.
What is your understanding of what a system is?
You're okay with me taking notes?
Yo, please do. Please take notes. Yes.
Okay. So when I say system, I'm looking for processes to be in place so I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I meet someone.
Perfect.
That's where I am.
Have you created any systems so far? You must have something going if you've done 33 closings last year and been in it for 15 years. Or are you just winging it and you're having fun?
I feel like I'm winging it and having fun. There are some that
you got so tight in that engineering, you're now having fun.
Yeah, I really do. I just feel like I'm winging it and having fun. But there are some things, that I do. I try to have a conversation with my buyers prior to getting out with them. So that's my buyer's consultation, but I'm not consistent with it. I don't always feel like I know that I'm asking the right questions. Same thing with listings. I do not have a listing presentation. I have never had a listing presentation. I get listings. Most of my listings, of course, are referrals. So I'm not going in a competitive spirit. So that's the thing. I realize for me that I'm my worst critic. And sometimes I don't think I have enough, or I'm always beating myself up to find out if that's enough. Do you have enough? Are you asking the right questions? Did you forget something? So I try to make sure that my systems are, or what I'm doing is enough, or maybe I'm not saying the right thing. So I can kind of overanalyze myself. I'll be honest about that. I do overanalyze it. But other than that, I don't really think I have a system. Like, I would love to be more in touch with my customers or my sphere of influence regularly. I feel like I dropped the ball during COVID. I haven't even talked to quite a few of them. So I did recently purchase a magnet that I'm going to send out to everybody as a way for me to go back and mail them all out and pick up the phone and say, hi, I'm still here. But those are just things that I know that I'm not doing. And people ask me that, what are you doing? You have business. And I honestly say, I'm not doing any. I don't feel like I'm doing anything that I can pinpoint to say that I consistently do it to consistently get business. And that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. So you've opened up a huge Pandora's box. Let's start there. Okay. There's a lot going on that I'm hearing. The good news is you've come this far winging it. Although I bet you have more systems than you know, you just don't have them formalized. But you've come this far, and the reason that I'm struggling a little bit is you haven't identified a specific area. You're bouncing around in a lot of different areas, and the answer is the same. It's just the specifics are different. So the first place that you start to set, let me give you an example. The most common place that people set up a system is, or one of the first things they do is from the time of under contract to closing, because all these things have to happen over and over again. They're all based on the contract. They're all standard. The contracts typically have the dates and the events, and a contract's almost a checklist, if you will.
Correct.
And I should go back to my first question. What is a system? A system is just, as you mentioned, a procedure. It's a step-by-step. And the way most people like to think about it, I like to say checklist. You're just going down a checklist. And in the old days, we used to take a file and open it up, and we'd have a sheet of paper on the left with checklists. You just check them off, and you're going down. And the most common place to do that was the under contract, because it's the same process every time, and you're doing it over and over and over again. And you mentioned you brought in a TC, a transaction coordinator, and that's probably what he or she does. They just go down and check them off and check them off, and they go down, right?
Right.
Are you doing it manually, or are you doing it in some kind of computer or digital fashion at this point?
Computer.
Okay, great. And what are you using a program, or are you using a spreadsheet? Believe me, I hear all kinds of things. What are you using?
So actually, my transaction coordinator, once she gets the contract, she puts the deadlines on there, and then I may put them in my calendar, the ones that I need to kind of be aware of. But she emails me. She runs her system on the side. You're not even seeing it. Do you know what it is? What software program it is? That she uses to remember to ding? No, I don't, and I can ask her that. Good. So what you want to do now is you want to take all your ability and start to amp up your analytical, logical side, and start looking at this thing as a I almost said the word system, but an organism, a big picture of all these things that have to happen. And you got to start picking off little parts. So one part is the under contract to close. Think about it as a conveyor belt. That might help too, right? At the very beginning is finding a client. That's part of the conveyor belt, and that's a system. And bringing them along, having them hire you as a buyer agent or hire you as a seller's agent, and then you bring them along through the process to get them under contract, and then on the way to the closing table, right? It's a big, long continuum. And each of these, we pull out a little part of it, and we create a system. So it's because it's being repeated over and over again. The under contract part is easy for us to understand, but the system, as you're starting to pick up on, is at the very beginning as well. Right. We're going to do the same thing over and over again. We just don't realize that we're doing it. It hasn't been formalized. You're asking the same questions to the buyer every time. You mentioned you're worried you're missing a question. The way to do that is just create a checklist at the beginning. Okay. Right? And the way to create the checklist is you can either steal a checklist from somebody else, right? Copy a checklist from somebody else. Okay. Or the best way for an active agent like you right now is just document what you're doing each time. Just whatever you're doing now. Don't worry about whether it's right or wrong. Just write down everything that you're doing during the event. So when you go meet your next buyer the very first time, afterwards, write down what you did. Just take an hour and write down, I asked him this, then I asked him that, then I asked him this, and I told him that, and I did this, and I did that, and boom. Formalize it. And then the next time you do it, did I do the same thing? And what you do is you go back in and then you change that system and modify it to either improve it, because afterwards you're thinking, oh, I didn't ask them about their financing, or I didn't ask them about if they knew about this special program I've heard about, or I didn't ask them about the area they want. You missed something. Add it to your list. Now you're going to go into your next appointment with the list. Okay, your list of questions. They're not going to be upset about that. You're going to say, hey, look, I'm a professional.
I want to make sure I get everything right for you. I got my list here to check off. Let's go through it. And you can go faster now because you're just going ding, 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 ding. And now instead of trying to think of the next question, you're listening to what they're saying.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Mike Ferry used to talk about this all the time way back, and he talked about an airline pilot going to fly the plane. Well, before they get to the takeoff zone, they do go through a checklist to make sure everything's right with that plane. And they still use the paper and they still check them off. Now, maybe today it's with a little iPad or something, but they're going through the checklist because if they miss one of those things, you're falling out of the sky, right?
Absolutely.
We want them to check off all those things. Well, your buyer, your seller wants you to check up all the things too to make sure nothing goes wrong.
Okay.
You're doing it, you just haven't formalized it. And once you do, it's going to become better, quicker, more efficient, which is your goal and objective. And your service is going to be higher quality for the customer, the client, because you are now giving them a product that they're purchasing because you're the product, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you're the product. Easy to see on the sell side, but it's true even on the buy side. You're the product. You're doing the negotiation. You're doing the strategy. You're figuring out how to negotiate against all these other buyers that are coming in. How do I position my people? How do I go talk, like in that checklist, talk to listing agent, ask them what they want. You know?
Yes, exactly.
And then in that conversation, which questions do you ask? Well, where's the seller moving to? They do or don't tell you. It doesn't matter. When do they need to be there? What do they want to leave? How can I make this a win for you? Right? You have all these consistent questions that you're asking. And in the heat of the moment, you won't forget.
Okay.
Would you agree?
I would agree. Absolutely.
And so what you're going to want to do is, again, if you're manual, you keep a three-ring notebook and you put all these in and out. If you're good with electronic, or you prefer electronic, you put it into Google Sheets or whatever, where you can get there and massage the data and have it at your fingertips, where you have access to those systems. And it's a work in progress. You're constantly upgrading and improving the system. Each of those little systems, and it's basically system with subsystems, right? Okay.
Yes.
And the way to think about it is, one, I got a buyer. I'm going to run them from A all the way to Z. The A is I just meet them, they just come to my world, and Z is they closed.
Closed.
Okay. And actually, it'll even be when you get this working, it'll be even further. It'll be how do I get them into my system? And what's my post-close program with them?
Yes.
Okay, because like you've just talked to me about, well, I don't know how my business is coming to me. I'm out there, people know me, luckily, but I don't get the sense you have a formal PCSOI program.
No.
You don't have an annual marketing plan to your past clients and sphere of influence, correct?
I do not.
And what a beautiful business you've already created. Could you imagine what you would do if you had one?
That's the point. And that's what I know. If I can get one and get it in place, I think that it would just take me up a level.
You would double your business, and with the same amount of time or just slightly more. I mean, you would have a beautiful little system going there where, would you close 30? So you'd be closing 50, 60, 70 homes. You'd be one of the super solo agents. You'd be up there at the top. Okay. Now, the thing here is don't get overwhelmed. Okay. Go back into your analytical engineer brain. I studied engineering undergrad. I understand. Go back into your engineering your brain and start mapping out these systems, but just take a look, just narrow the niche. Like I mentioned, the under contract to close. Talk to your TC. You'll see what she's doing on her. Is it she or he?
She.
She. You'll see what she's doing with her system, and boom, now that gives you an idea of what you can do. Move one step forward. What do I do with the person that once we go out to show prop? What's my system for showing prop?
Showing, right.
What's my system for negotiating? What's my system for getting all this information over to my TC and let them run with it to close? Am I popping back into that system to do an inspection, or are they doing it? Am I, what else am I doing? Am I negotiating any problems that come in? Anyway, how do I get pulled back in out of their system, the TCs? You're going to need these anyway for your next phase. Let me tell you your next phase. Your next phase is to go to 50, 60 units. And in order to do that, you're going to need a second admin. You're going to have your TC that's going to help out with the under contract to close. You're probably going to also have a listing manager position or just a general assistant first, but someone who's going to help you and what they're going to do is you're going to hand them these systems and they're going to make sure that things get done on that checklist, going down the list.
Okay.
Does that make sense? This is how you leverage up, is you create these systems. You can feel, I know you called in, you could feel it in your heart. You needed these systems here to start bowing the ship, keep it upright, and now build it.
Yes.
Isn't this fun?
It is. So I guess my question to you would be, for someone like me that's creating the systems, of course, I can create them individually or find someone that has them. My question is that something I should be doing on my own, or should I be coached to do what I need to do?
Right. Well, that's a great question, and you can do either one. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. In the end, you're going to need to be the one that puts together your system. I can just tell you from my own experience, I went out and tried to find others, and it just gave me part of the puzzle piece, right? In the end, I had to take it and modify it. And ultimately, I discovered what I just told you, which is you have to create your system based on what you're currently doing. Okay. Here's the vision to imagine. You're handing it off to an admin to run it behind you. Okay. That makes sense? For instance, if you had an admin, they could put together the paperwork that you're going to have for your listing presentation. Right. You are the one that talked to the seller and set the appointment based on your part of the system. And then once you got the appointment, you hand it off to the assistant and say, hey, I got this appointment at 123 Elm Street. It's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I need you to put together the package. And they're going to go to your package checklist and they're going to start filling it all in. They're going to do the MLS research. They're going to print off your listing presentation. They're going to bind it up, or whatever you do electronic now. They're going to put it together, make sure that it's delivered to you hours before your appointment. And the reason that that's beautiful is now you don't have to do that for 3 hours. You can now go talk to seller number 2. And now you get 2 appointments tomorrow, not just one.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. This is leverage. Yes, you're moving into leverage state, depending on how big you want to make this business. But that's the next step, and it is based on systems. You've nailed what you need. Now I hope I've given you enough that you can get started on how to create it.
Absolutely, you have.
Good. Absolutely. The next question I have for you is: would you put it in paper or would you put it digitally? I want to give you a vision. Where are you going to put this thing?
Starting out for me, it'll probably be paper.
Great.
I will eventually change it over to something digital, but to start off for me, it'll be
some of the biggest agents I know do everything in paper or manual. Yes. They're almost embarrassed. I'm not. It's a system. All that matters is it's a system, right? It just works.
I do.
All that matters is it works. And if you just figure it out, you can modify it into some other format.
Correct. Okay?
So I want you to then write it on paper, get it in your mind's eye. You can see it there. What system do you want to start with? One small system. What do you think you need the most help with to have a system that's something that's duplicatable, something that's repeated? Anything that you repeat in your business more than once should have a system.
Yes, so that would be my working with my buyers, my buyer consultation and my listing consultation. Those will be my 2, but I would start with my buyer. Yes, so my buyer.
Let's work on, are you more buyer heavy or seller heavy now?
Right now, I'm more buyer heavy. All my listings are under contract and I need some new ones. So I probably should work on that.
Let's focus on what you do though, and then you can focus on the other. It's more, remember, you always build on your strength and then you shore up your weakness. So build on the strength. The strength right now is buyers and it's something you do all the time. So it's going to be easier for you to create this one. I want you to create the buyer system. And what you want to do is narrow that down and remember the conveyor belt.
The conveyor belt, yes.
Timeline. I should be doing it this way, I think, anyway. So
it doesn't matter. I know where we're going. Yes.
I want you to think of when you first meet them to before you look at the first property. That's the system I want you to look at. So that's the pre-show.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
That's going to be your assignment. I like to give assignments.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So your assignment is to write up the system for the pre-show. From the time you meet them to the time you go look at the first property, what has to happen?
Okay.
Right? You got to consult with them. You got to get XYZ information. You got to get them to a lender. There's all these things that have to happen. Write it out first, and then go back and see if you can break it out, right?
Okay.
Like lender, well, I better tell them what that is, and I got a script for that before I actually send to the lender, or whatever your process is.
Whatever my process is, I got you.
Just write it out.
Okay.
Okay. And then later it's like you ever write an essay, you do drafts, right? You're going to go back in and draft and draft and draft and draft till you get the final. Well, this is a draft forever. It's going to keep going, but it's going to get better and better with each reiteration.
Okay.
Constant and never-ending improvement. That the Conti idea, the concept.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Does that help?
It does.
When can you have that? That's your assignment. I know it's a big one. You've got a big assignment. Some of my assignments are little. That's a big one. When can you have that done?
What's today? Today is Monday?
Today's Monday.
It'll take me consistently I would want to have it to you by next Monday.
Great. 1 week?
Yes.
So Monday, you have to set the due date. So Monday, what time next week? That's
3 o'clock.
14th. Well, I'm sorry, what time?
3 p.m.
And you're Eastern time?
I am Eastern time.
Okay. 3 o'clock Eastern time on the 14th is your due date. So write this up. And then when you get it done, I want you to send me an email saying, hey, Mike, I got it done.
Okay.
That's your accountability piece.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Do you have any questions before we break?
I do not. I appreciate you today.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
I'm glad. I hope it was helpful. Well, very good. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for Agent Unstuck calls. It was a lot of fun today. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and click that like button. And if you want to hear more calls like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when the next episode is coming out. And if you have any thoughts about what you heard today and you'd like to relay that to everyone else, go ahead and put that down in the comment section so people can talk about it. And finally, if you're stuck in your real estate career, you're a veteran who's having some challenges and you can't figure out how to get to that next step, go ahead and schedule yourself an Unstuck call. Just go to agentunstuckcall.com. That's agentunstuckcall.com. And let's get you scheduled in. You'll go in there, you'll fill out a quick survey, you'll find a time that works for you, and we'll get on a call just like this and see if we can't get you some answers. All right, this has been a lot of fun. I'm your host, Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent. And again, thank you for joining us on Agent Unstuck Calls. Take care.